What's up, guys? Dude, that's Derpy here, and I'm going to be going over as quickly as possible, like all the decks that I played against at the regional and how I did against them. And well, let me get into that. So, got to the regional. My first matchup was Dragoonides, not Dragon Ruler Dragoonides, just regular old Dragoonides, like yeah, you see anything at a regional apparently. And I beat him. He actually wasn't that difficult to beat, so I guess to kind of be expected though, because it's just regular old Dragoonides. You don't. I think like I saw him run what is it, Tempest, but that was it. And then my second matchup was against Mermail. Now here's what really ticked me off is I could tell that he was a really good player. So he may have won anyway had he not had like the nuts on me, but he had everything he needed. So game one, I open up. Well, he gets to go first, and he looks at his hand, and then he just sets a card, and then he passes. So to kind of give you a reference, and I don't remember exactly what was in my hand, but this will suffice. This is basically what happened. Like, pretend this was my hand. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, all that. So, like, Summoning Monk, Necromancer, Fiendish Chain, Barrier, Drag Down, and 1-for-1. So, like that, that's my hand. So, I set a Barrier, set a Chain, set 1-for-1. Okay? Or not 1-for-1. What was it? Yeah. So, anyway, normal summon Summoning Monk, ditch Drag Down, and then special, because I had to get rid of it. Where are you? Where are you? Special Dark Grepher. Go Dark Grepher effect. To be honest, I don't even think I had a monster in my hand. I just said a bunch of stuff. Well, anyway, Dark Grepher effect. Send something to my grave. Send an Archfiend to my grave, and then overlay for Lavalval Chain. And that was my big play, which I really absolutely needed to go off. Absolutely needed it to go off. So there's my Lavalval Chain. As soon as the Lavalval Chain hits the field, he activates Abyss Sphere, and I'm like, oh crap! I know what he's going for. He goes for Abyss Pike, and he just happens to have infantry in his hand. Had he not had infantry at that point in the game, he didn't have Max C or Valor. So, I could have just detached and went right ahead and top decked an Archfiend, and next turn really could have went off on him because a Barrier and a Fiendish Chain. Like, I think it was a Barrier and a Mirror Force. But anyway, Barrier obviously is a completely dead card until I got an Eternity on the field. But he kills Lavalval Chain, and then you can see like my what's there is just garbage. And I know you're seeing the 1-for-1. It wasn't 1-for-1 because that actually would have given me plays, but it was just like another spell. I can't remember which one, but anyway. So we go through probably about 2 to 3 turns, and then I'm just dead because I just keep dead drawing stuff. Like nothing is useful. Okay, so game 2. He sides against me, obviously. I side 3 MST, 2 Trap Stun, a Soul Drain, because that hurts Mermails, and I believe, I'm not sure if I sided anything else, but that's the main things that were important. So I go game 1, and game 2, I go turn 1, set my board up and all that fun stuff. Well, guess what? He has Valor. So he Valors my card. Can't do anything, pass turn. First turn, he opens up with a Skill Drain. Sets it, does just a little bit of stuff, passes turn. Okay, I go to pull off an effect, Chain Skill Drain. I'm like, okay, great. If I can't get rid of that card, I lose. So goes around a few more turns, and in 5 draws, I have 3 MST in my deck that I could draw into, 3 Break, Infernity Break, and 2 Trap Stun, and I don't draw into any of them. Now, tell me, please, that that's not derpy as crap. Actually, no, I remember exactly. Let me rephrase what I said. Go back to what I said a second ago. He didn't have Valor. He had Max C, and he's set Skill Drain, and I'm trying to go off on my plays, and so first off, he chains Max C when I go to Special Summon, and I'm like, okay, great, I can't do anything about that. Then when I go to get the thing's effect, he activates Skill Drain, and I did have Trap Stun at that point, so I had to chain Trap Stun. All right. But I could only do so much with that Trap Stun. And it was like either I activate the Trap Stun and get their effect, get Archfiend's effect and do what I need to do and let him get a crap ton of draws, or I don't get Archfiend's effect and then I have no plays at all. So I had a Trap Stun just to stun the Skill Drain, but he had Max C right when he needed it. I'm like, he didn't have to play. He just had what he needed right then and there. And I mean, I don't know. It's highly annoying. I'm not gonna lie. So I lost game 2 to Mermail. Game 3 I played against Heretics. It went into a draw because it went into time. Of course, you know how Heretics are. It's a very combo based deck. Goes back and forth. Special summons a lot. Well, so do Infernities, so, he was taking his time to plan out his moves, so was I. So I won game 1. In game 2, game 1 took like more than 20 minutes. So game 2 went into time, and I believe he ended up winning game 2, and who knows who would have won game 3, I don't know. He was the only draw that I had during the day, but, I don't know, it kind of sucks because I think getting a draw on that actually knocked me out of the chance of like topping possibly, because I came in 62nd out of 276 players. So my actual record was 4-3-1, 5-3-1. I won 5 games. One of them was by default because the guy didn't show up. Won 5, lost 3, drew 1. Had I won 6 and lost 3, and then I think I may have actually topped. But that's why you don't want to try not to let your matches go into time, because it's just nutty. It's annoying. All right, game 4 was against Dragon Ruler Dragoonides, and that is like one of the tier 1 decks this format. It's just they killed Dragon Rulers like the way that it was being ran. But there's still so much consistency, and if they play Return from the Different Dimension, you could just say game over because you're dead. So I lost against him. Game 5, I played against some jank, just really random remove from play deck. Like he had Cyber Valley on the field, and then he had Dimensional Alchemist, and then he played, what card did he play? He played some kind of card where he could top deck just one particular monster, so he did that. And then he activated, he top decked Necrophase, and then he activated Dimensional Alchemist effect to banish the top 5 cards of my deck. I just didn't feel like that was really helping him all that much. Although he banished 2 of my barriers. Like, how does that happen? Like, why are my barriers stacked together? It kind of sucks. Maybe I need a lesson on how to shuffle. But anyway, I beat him. It really wasn't that difficult. Game 6, I played against Madolches. Now this guy he kind of pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. He was a really good player. I feel like, you know, if you're a really good Madolche player, it's hard to get around because they keep so much card advantage. That's the issue. They keep so much card advantage. But game one, he wins. That's fine. That's all fine and dandy. So game two, I side in obviously 3 MST and some trap stuns, and I sided in. I think I sided in like Rivalry of Warlords and a few other things. Well, anyway, game two, he slow plays me, and I could have called a judge on him for this, and I probably should have, because this is what pissed me off. He took his entire deck after taking like 5 to 6 minutes to side, and then he shuffles his whole deck just like you would normally shuffle your deck. But then he pile shuffles, deals the whole thing out in piles, and he didn't do that very quickly either. Then he picks up each individual pile and shuffles it. And then he shuffles the whole deck again. It took him about 6 minutes to shuffle his deck. It doesn't take that long to shuffle a deck. I don't care how pro you are or whatever. He was stalling. He was trying to, you know, make it go to time, so he would. There's no way that, you know, that he could lose. That ticked me off. I should have called it on him. I should have been like, judge, but I didn't. Sometimes being nice gets you in trouble. He 2-0'd me. And okay, so game 7, I played against Dark Worlds. The guy was bad. And let me explain how he was bad. So I normal summon Necromancer. Of course, it tilts, switches to defense. I still had a card in my hand. Didn't have, I don't believe I had an Archfiend Engrave either. But as soon as Necromancer hits the field, he Valors it. I'm like, yeah, cool, that's fine. I don't really care. I wasn't even using the effect yet. It's not like you can chain Valor or anything. Well, I guess in that case it wouldn't. But anyway, he Valors, and it's. I have a card in hand. I mean, there's no point to Valor Necromancer when I have a card in hand. So he Valors that. Then I banish a Street Patrol to special summon Archfiend, and then he has another Valor. It was double Valor. Like, had he used it at the right time, it would have stopped so much. But he used it at the wrong time. So I 2-0'd him. I've played against good Dark World players. He wasn't one of them. If you watch this video, dude, I'm sorry. Playtest more. And then the last game that I actually got to play was against Worms. And I thought it was just so friggin' hilarious because I sit down. He goes, oh man, you know, I saw you playing at the other table. He's like, I already know you're playing in Infernities. He's like, that kind of gives me an unfair advantage. I was like, well, what are you playing? He goes like, Worms. I'm like, oh, great. I was like, well, you definitely have an advantage because I don't really know what Worms do. Like I found myself during the whole tournament just picking up everybody's cards and reading them because a lot of stuff I don't know their effects. But he goes, well, my friend at home, like, he plays Infernities, and I know the deck inside and out. He was like, I know how to side against it perfectly, and he's just going on and on. I'm like, yeah, well, let's just see how you do. So he sets, game 1, he gets to go first. He sets 5 back row, and then sets a monster. And I mean, like, I knew enough about Worms to know that they get flip effects. So I was like, well, maybe see if I can try to kill that while it's face down. And anyway, and I learned that Worms are the anti-Infernity deck. Like they have so many compulsory effects to bounce stuff back to your hand, which makes your barriers dead. So I draw, and right as I'm going to start trying to make my plays, he just flips Vanity's Emptiness, and I'm like, oh, great. So for like 4 turns, I couldn't do a damn thing. Excuse my language. I couldn't do anything. I'm like, are you serious? So finally though, I think I was able to attack over one of his monsters, or I think I used like an Infernity break. I used break on another one of his cards. I think I had like Fiendish Chain on one of my cards. So I popped Fiendish Chain. Of course, Vanity's Emptiness goes to the grave too. And so I summon again. I'm trying to go off. I'm trying to special summon. He flips another Vanity's Emptiness. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna hurt you right now. So I have to go about like 3 more turns with him just flipping his worm effects, and bouncing crap back to my hand. And he had the one trap where like you flip all, I think it's like flip all monsters on the field to face up. Just flip them face up. And then it's like during the end phase, set all light reptile type monsters and draw a card for each. Like that card's ridiculously good for worms. He got that off on me too. Anyway, I kill the second Vanity's Emptiness, and at that point he couldn't stop my special summoning. So I start going off. By the time I ended my turn, I had 2 barriers, 2 breaks, and another trap set, and I had 5 monsters on the field. And the funny thing is, I was actually thinking to myself, like, what am I gonna do if I top deck a monster? Like that's kind of gonna hurt me. But I had breaks set, so during his end phase, I activated a break on the card he had just set, just to make sure that if I drew a spell or a trap, I could set it real quick. And then if I drew a monster, I had ways to get monsters off my field. But anyway, I mean, like, he's going on and on about how good he can play against Infernities, and then I absolutely wreck him. And so he scoops, puts his hand out. He's like, shakes my hand. He's like, good match. I'm like, good match? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, I don't know what's going on right now. He's like, I don't know if it's because I'm hungry, or because I'm tired, but like I'm scrubbing out. But he was really nice about it, though. What he did, he said, dude, in case it comes to a tiebreaker, he said, I'm not going to drop out. So if you end up watching this video, really do appreciate that. Like, that was pretty awesome. Because that really could have made the difference between making top 32 or not. So thank you. And then the last round, round 9, my opponent was a no-show. So I'm sure that made my ranking or my rating go down as well. I really wanted to play. I sat down, waited my 3 minutes, called judge, got my game win. Or he got his game loss, and I kept thinking maybe he'll show up, but he never showed up. So when I go to a regional, I go there to play. I mean, of course I want to try to top, but I go to there to play. So tell me what you think about the duels. Do you think I got the nuts off of people, or did they have the nuts on me? I think they had the nuts on me in general. I realize I need to change my Infernity deck build. It's just not as consistent as it needs to be. But if you like this video, please rate, comment, share, and subscribe.